Well, welcome to the Happy, Healthy Hustle podcast, where we explore the intersection of health, happiness, and productivity. I'm your host, Christiana, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. Today, we have a special guest. And before we start talking about the guest, I actually want to give a little shout out to the podcast fan of the week. So podcast fan of the week is Mo328999. So a lot of numbers right there. And the title of the review is so informative and interesting. So Mo32899 writes, listening to someone else talk about getting stuff done makes me want to also. So it looks like I really kickstarted somebody's inspiration right there, which is amazing. Thanks so much for the wonderful review. If you have not left a review, go ahead and check on Apple Podcast, search for Happy, Healthy Hustle, and then you can leave me a review by just clicking on the stars. And I would also, of course, love to hear your words. So those are the ones that I'm reading out here. But now you're really curious about our guest. So today we are talking about a really interesting topic with regard to mindfulness, mental health, and we're combining that with something else that we really adore in our lives, which is horses. So on my show today, I have Terri. Terri, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, Christiane. It's lovely to be here, and I'm so looking forward to being a guest on your show. I've been listening to the podcast, so it's exciting for me to be a part of this. So
thank you. So maybe give us a brief introduction. I already gave a few tidbits about the emphasis area. I said mental health, mindfulness. I said there is animals involved. So share with us, what do you do?
I work with mostly women and couples who are tired of living their lives of mediocrity. And what we do is unravel the stories that are keeping you from being your best self. If you are in the Colorado area, which is where I live, we do this on my 6-acre ranch and partner with my horses. So we are in round pen with the horses, and they interact with the client as the client needs to, and as we start going through the layers of peeling back the onion and getting to the core of what your story is that's keeping you from living your best life. And most of the time, we growing up, we were given messages over and over again that we take with us and use as stories, and they keep us from being the best self. The stories, I'm not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm not pretty, I'm unworthy. Whatever those stories are, we get to the root cause of what the story is so that we can just unpack everything and connect with your soul wisdom, which is going to tell you 9.99 times out of 100 that story is not true.
Yeah, so this is beautiful. It connects well with a book that I'm reading right now by Brené Brown, which is called Into the Wilderness, and really talks about the sense of belonging. And she also talks about the fact that frequently people that really lost this self of identity, or they have this unraveling they need to do to find their true story, that in their childhood, or maybe it was when they were a teenager, they had some teacher along the way that told them, your art is not great, you're not athletic, you are not great in speaking this language, your math abilities are weak. And they really get hurt, and their souls get really scarred by it. So it's truly something that words have a lot of power and impact. And it sounds like you're getting to the bottom of these stories, and as you mentioned, unraveling it and kind of like starting the healing process. So how would you describe your superpower, Terri?
The ability to dig through what what the actual story is. And for instance, I was working with a client who really wanted to be successful, and she couldn't figure out why she kept sabotaging herself every time her business got a little bit of success. So by unraveling, we found out that her idea of success was given to her by her dad, who was a very successful business person. He was never home. He couldn't play, didn't play with the kids. He didn't go on family vacations. He was working. And she overheard her parents' friends always call him, he was such a jerk and a good for nothing. And the family is not important. So the message that she got was that to be successful, you had to give up your family life and be a jerk to everybody else so that your business could be successful. And once she realized that that was her father's message, not her story, she was able to break through that and let it go and not be afraid of success in her business.
Yeah, it's amazing sometimes as a parent how much of a role we really play. And it's not only the big actions, it's everything that you do on a day-to-day basis, that because you're the model that your children will see, and they will essentially pick up on that like little sponges, and as you mentioned, replicate it and really think that because I see this is the way that it works. And unfortunately, in this particular case, you sometimes don't even realize that you start doing it until somebody points this out. And then you're like, oh, there's a different way in doing this? I didn't even know. So maybe this particular person there really learned from you that family is important, spending time with family. And there's so much stuff that we are worried about that's just fluff. So really, if you peel back the layers, spending that time with the family is really the core of what you should have cared about. And everything else was just, like the layers of the onion that you peel back, because at the core of it is really the connection with people that you love and care about.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And because of my superpower, and I was able to point this out to her and just give a fresh perspective and ask the right questions for her to say, like, this was how my dad's message of success was. So it doesn't need to be mine. You don't have to give up your family to be successful. You don't have to be a complete jerk to be successful. Maybe your dad did. That's his story. So let's rewrite your next chapter and figure out what your story is going forward.
that's beautiful. Yeah. So when you connect with people, of course, I'm sure it's not always just smooth sailing, that you help, you feel you're giving back. I'm sure you, in your personal life, in your personal story, let's maybe like use that word, you had some challenges as well. How did you overcome? Let's maybe think about your biggest challenge. Let's describe that challenge and how did you overcome it, if you're willing to share that with us.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I always say we're most, we are all dinged, dented, and slightly cracked, and and that's okay. That's what life is all about. In my case, I was definitely broken and cracked. I had a traumatic brain injury. Over the course of my life, I was always told my story was that I would always be second. I was not good enough, and no one would want to be my friends unless I bought my way into the community. So when I was in the transitional living center, after 4 weeks in ICU and 4 weeks in a rehab hospital, I met with the head neuropsychologist, who told me that, before my injury, my brain function was probably at a 7 or 8, which is normal. After the brain injury, my brain function is now at like a 2 or a 3. And after 2 or 3 years, I might get back to a 5 or so. And I took that message and went back to my room, and I sat in my room, and the first thought I had was oh my goodness, I really am broken. I really will not be good enough. And I just got quiet, and I just, I didn't really start praying, but I connected to what I call my soul wisdom. And I just heard my internal voice saying, that's not your story. And from that moment, I decided that what the doctor told me was a bunch of crap, and I could be just as good as new. I just had to wait for my brain to reweave the neural pathways. And I just shifted my attitude when things went wrong. Instead of saying, oh my God, yes, I'm broken, this is never going to work, I would just get curious and kind of laugh and say, well, that was different. It didn't work. How can I, what can I do to help my brain reweave and make it work? So, multitasking. I was a high-level executive assistant, and I knew after the brain injury that that was not going to happen. I was not going to be able to do that, and that's okay. So what I did was we moved from California to Colorado. We have a 6-acre ranch. I have 4 horses, a mini donkey, chickens, dogs, husband, cat, and I started a business. And I'm an award-winning author, and I have a successful business. So I seriously, by tapping into my soul wisdom, I seriously proved that doctor wrong.
It's very inspiring. You kind of look back and you look at this as like, this really created a path for me where I can give back, because it's you learn from this, but at the same time, what you do right now is finding their soul wisdom as well.
Correct.
In a way. And so by sharpening your own voice and your own connection to your superpower and learning from that challenge, you're helping others who are struggling and going through hard times in overcoming them as well, and learning their own superpower, or their soul wisdom. I love it. This is so beautiful and so fitting to my whole podcast, where I'm really focusing on tapping into superpowers and learning from it, and always learning what their superpowers are and how their lives change. So this is really what makes it interesting, the transformation, so to speak. If you think about that journey from the brain injury to the healing to where you are right now, who do you feel were your biggest influencers or influencer, or what really helped you to get there?
What really helped me to get where I am was listening to and trusting my own inner voice and the inner wisdom that we all have, and realizing that I will always carry with me the stories that told me I wasn't good enough. And yes, I'm still triggered, but now when I feel a trigger coming on, if it's kind of like if I reach out to someone after a networking meeting and I don't hear anything back. Prior to this, I would have said, well, of course, I'm not good enough. They don't want to connect with me. Now I don't take it personally. And it's like, okay, well, they're, everyone has busy lives, and it really has nothing to do with me. And I'm okay with that. And if they don't want to connect with me, then that's their problem, because I'm awesome. So just holding on to that enlightenment, I guess, is what keeps me going. And also, I've got a barn full of horses. So when I get confused or just, I don't want to say disappointed or anything, I can always go out to the horses and have a conversation. And just, they're so present that it just kind of resets my inner working and gives me what I need to keep going forward.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that frequently with animals, they're so forgiving. You leave the house and you come back home and they welcome you as if haven't seen you for ages, even though you could have been just gone for 5 minutes. And it makes you feel like a rock star. You're like, oh my gosh, look at this. People are excited, like I'm not second, like I sometimes feel, but I'm actually really appreciated. And these horses and animals really love who I am and what I do. And I feel the connection. And that's really sometimes, as you say, like this grounding that you experience with animals that we need, especially during stressful times. Or it could just be that you have an off day. And then you need to give yourself some grace and maybe connect even more with the animals and let, their character shine through. And that's the beautiful thing, that you are creating yourself this ecosystem of people that you're helping and people around you, but also the animals that you're taking advantage of and taking advantage of their unique superpowers, which each animal has their own unique superpower and how they help you, because I'm sure your 4 horses are completely different from each other. Is that right?
Oh, yes, completely. Completely. Yes.
Beautiful.
They all have their little idiosyncrasies and personalities, and every once in a while they have to remind me of that.
Oh, yes. And that's beautiful too, that you get to know them. They're like a family members, right? How can we get a hold of you? You mentioned a ranch, but you also have a podcast on your own that I would love to let the audience know about, that they can tune in. And you have a book. So why don't you share the written work, the oral work, the physical location of your ranch, so that we can find you and learn more about you, Terri?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I'm, as I said, I'm an award-winning author. The book is called Finding True Purpose, Life Beyond the Castle. And that can be found on Amazon. And my podcast is newly launched. So thank you for the opportunity to be a guest on yours and continue my education in the podcast world. The podcast is Soul Wisdom Transitions, and that can be found on across all podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, Pandora. And you can reach me if you want more information. The website, soulwisdomtransitions.com, is under construction, so that's not quite up yet, but you can reach me at Terri, Terri, at beginagainranch.com.
Awesome.
And if you can't get to Denver, I work with clients via Zoom, and it's not quite as profound as having a horse sneeze on you, but we can still unravel the stories.
Wonderful. So Begin Again Ranch, check out that website. It will have the contact information and, of course, beautiful pictures. So even if you are, not in the Denver area, maybe that entices you to plan a little visit out there and connect with Terri and find your inner soul wisdom. And that's really beautiful. Anything you want to add, Terri, that our viewers or our audience might really appreciate in terms of things you want to share, a little tidbit of your wisdom?
Yeah, what I'd like to share is I've got a quote that I carry with me, and it is, maybe you need to let go of who you think you are in order to become who you are actually meant to be.
Oh, that's beautiful. So it's kind of like, are we really our unique own self?
Exactly.
Which is also actually really what Hello Happiness is all about. Hello
Exactly.
Happiness is really tapping into, are we our own best self, or are we really just pretending and maybe
are we a product of the stories that we tell ourselves? So let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to become who you actually meant to be.
Yeah.
And
it's
then my other favorite quote is, no matter what you're going through, it's always your choice to close your eyes, take a deep breath, smile, and begin again, like I
oh,
do every day.
just like the name of your ranch. I love that.
Exactly.
I have a podcast that's been really popular about a 1 minute mantra. So when you take that exhale, inhale, close your eyes, you can even repeat a mantra that is unique to yourself and will bring out the best in yourself as well. So I would always encourage you, go back if you haven't listened to that episode with the 1 minute mantra, where I'm coaching you how to create your 1 minute mantra. And it makes a unique difference in your life and how you're dealing with a challenging situation, or maybe with situations that whether you can't calm down or whether you need that energy, tap into your 1 minute mantra. It will bring out the best in yourself. Well, with that, thank you so much, Terri, for being here, because that was absolutely amazing. And I feel our two purposes and goals lined up so nicely, really, with regard to finding and unraveling, I like that word, the stories that we have and that we carry in us, and bringing out the best unique self. We are at the end of our episode today. I hope you enjoyed our discussion with Terri. And remember, health, happiness, and productivity are all interconnected, but we need to prioritize all three to reach our full potential. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next time on the Happy Healthy Hustle. Thank you.